Hello everybody, and here I am in the noisy car wash. This time getting my car cleaned because I can't see out the back window right now. It's been a very hectic couple of weeks, actually a couple of months, so I haven't been very productive on YouTube. But I have had quite a few neat things happen with Facebook Marketplace and with grabbing stuff when I have a couple of minutes that I see on Craigslist, and occasionally stopping at a thrift. So what will follow is basically going to be a combination of video and audio stuff that I've picked up. I'm probably not going to touch on a couple of CDs because CDs were interesting but not super duper exciting. I did get 3 or 4 little things, but again, nothing super duper cool. But I do have some things to share. Okay, so where to begin? You're probably going to see me change clothes several times through this because I'll probably do it over a couple of days. I've only got this much battery left in the phone. I'm a little under the weather because I'm tired. I've been working or trying to get work quite a bit the last couple of days. It's slowed down, but the sun is a scorcher and I've been out there in it just trying anyway. So let's start with video stuff. Video stuff went off the chain in the last few weeks or so. If you'll excuse me, I've got some paper sleeve discs laying around because I'm going through the process of a purge and getting rid of a bunch of stuff. Gonna stick mostly with more factory level kind of things, I think, just because there's gotten to be too much. And so some of the stuff is going to charity and to friends and to sister. Alright, so to begin with, picked up this lovely set, 32-inch. It's a Vizio, and it's had less than 100 hours on it when I got it. The guy said that basically it was a guest TV, that it was downstairs. He's very much into 3D and he wanted to upgrade to a 55-inch, so he was giving this one away. It does not use shutter glasses. I'm not sure how the technology works. I read an entire article about the technology, complete with graphs and charts, and honestly, as much as I pride myself on being a fan of stereoscopic photography and display and understanding a lot of different formats, I am not understanding that screen. That is just fascinating to me, that it works with these regular polarized Real D glasses that you would get at the cinema, which is lightweight, comfortable, and less hassle than having a transmitter and a shutter and a battery attached to the side of your head, or in a worse case scenario with an older set, a wire. So it's real comfortable, it's real easy, and it looks absolutely breathtaking. It's not a giant set. It's perfect for this room. Now, for some time, because this was a wish list dream item, I'd been out there thrifting, and when I go thrifting, anytime I ran into any 3D Blu-ray, I would pick it up just as a wish list what if. So I think there's only like 2 items in here that are not from thrift of some sort, and that would be Treasure of the Four Crowns, and actually no, there's 3. The Mask, and The Maze, which The Maze has a most bizarre ending. It's a vintage old 1950s movie. Really interesting curiosity piece, but some of the stuff is kind of junky. Predator is okay. It's a conversion. The guy I got the set from actually gave me Piranha 3D, and I haven't even popped it in because I remember that was a weak conversion. However, the Piranha 3 Double D, if I can ever get my hands on one of those discs, that movie was outrageous, and it was shot native 3D. But there's quite a bit of Disney stuff in here, and a couple of decent horror pictures. Got a nice vintage Parasite in 3D if you want to see Demi Moore's first movie with a toothy pull toy slug on a string. That's a fun one. Some IMAX documentaries, Jaws 3, some DreamWorks stuff. The DreamWorks stuff is really amazing, like the Ice Age movies, and I absolutely love the Monsters vs. Aliens disc. That disc has got incredible 3D. So does Madagascar 3. Another Facebook Marketplace rescue. Uh, I pulled maybe a dozen movies for myself and another dozen or so for friends and family. And I guess I'll try to eBay some of this, and I will give the rest to charity. A lot of it's sealed. Mostly modern fare, a lot of action. And this is why I say don't ever turn down free, because this is an awful lot of stuff. And it was fun to go through and to be able to share it with other people. So I had a great time with it. When I contacted the guy, he wrote me back within seconds almost and just said, yeah, come get it. It's all free. It comes with a DVD player, which I gave that away too. And the only thing is you have to take all the discs and you can't have my bins. So we just dumped them in. Okay, so it's a very hot day and I have gone home. I did a limo run this morning to downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I've come back and changed shirts. Left 4 discs at the house that I picked up this morning, so I'll go ahead and mention what those are here. First, a couple of things. I stopped at Salvation Army basically because it's off the highway by 1 block. It's an easy place to stop and use the restroom. The restroom is clean. So I could do that on the way back, and I figured while I was in there, I'd check the vinyl and Blu-rays. Vinyl, I could tell at a glance within 30 seconds. Don't bother to look. They haven't added anything new. Sometimes it's weeks or even months before you see anything in there. So it was easy to identify from about 3 or 4 weeks ago that they hadn't updated anything. Videos, it seems like they probably have a stockpile somewhere in the back, and they just put new stuff out as it sells to keep the wall full and keep it stocked. One of the things that you'll want to keep in mind if you're looking for specifically 3D Blu-rays, all you have to do is kind of run down the shelf and just glance at everything, because you can identify easily a Blu-ray box versus a DVD box. Different color, different size. Either they may even be a different color from each other, not necessarily blue, but they're a different size. Kind of like games are a different size. But also, you don't have to look at titles. You can just look at the top and bottom of the spine for a 3D logo that has to do with the 3D Blu-ray process. And if you don't see it there, chances are 99.9% that it's not a 3D Blu, and you can just move on. So you can cover a 6-foot space of wall in a matter of 15-20 seconds. So that's what I did, is I just ran through there and raced around and did that. There were 3 that I left behind because I already had copies of them. There were 4 that I picked up because they were 99 cents a piece. So something to keep in mind is if you spot one, be sure that you glance around carefully, because what typically happens is somebody that had 3D systems has either had their Blu-ray player go kaput, which has got to be a special system, or their TV went kaput, which has got to be a special system. In which case they've maybe gone online and decided, gee, they aren't making this gear anymore right now, without surfing around into Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever, and they haven't the awareness that they can get a projection system for it. So they basically take their entire collection to the thrift and drop it off and just give up on it. So where you find one, typically you will find more than one title. Today I picked up Hotel Transylvania and 3 Disney discs. Bolt, which I remember seeing at the cinema. It didn't really pop. If I recall, it was okay, but it kind of looked, if I remember right, the way Chicken Little did. Like it was the beginning of the 3D process coming back into cinemas, and they weren't really generating really 3D for the process yet. So as an afterthought, when 3D movies started to really hit, maybe when Monsters vs. Aliens hit and other stuff was coming out, they decided, gee, why don't we go in and take this movie that we've created, and instead of re-rendering the whole thing for 3D, we'll just take the version that we've got and treat it like we're doing a conversion and do it that way. And so it feels kind of weak, I guess, but for 99 cents, it's an upgraded print. You get a regular copy anyway if the 3D is not pleasing. So it's nice, and I'm not going to walk away from it for 99 cents. The other 2 Disneys that I got were Inside Out, which really surprised me. This was apparently a serious collector, because I don't believe that was released domestically in the USA on Blu-ray. And it is an imported disc, but it is a region-free disc. So anytime you're picking up discs, if you're in America or Canada, make sure you're checking for it to say either region A or ABC, which means it'll play anywhere. And this one said ABC. And it's got some of the ratings information and other details that are finite on the back of it in German. And the ratings logo does not look like the American MPAA rating thing. It's in the little triangle like for Europe. So I am pretty positive that is a import. So I haven't looked at any of this stuff yet. The last one is Moana, which is the one I'm most excited about. It's one of my favorite movies of all time at this point. And so I understand that and Inside Out were done more like Tangled, where they were actually constructed, well, and Wreck-It Ralph. They were Disney movies that were actually constructed for the 3D process, so that they are genuinely native 3D, even though it's a digital format and not a reality-based film. So they'll really have a great degree of pop and depth and everything about them. So that should be really stunning to look at. I'm really excited about that one and look forward to it. Not sure when I'll get around to looking at it, but that is the next on my list when I'm home and awake and have plenty of time to spare. Okay, last section of the video. Did I find any cool records? I did find some cool CDs. I've already put them away, so I'm not going to go over those. And again, they weren't anything special. I found some cool records. This was, I guess, kind of thrifting. Like I said, I found this neat vintage shop, and it had a pretty good pile of $1 albums. So I spent a couple of bucks there, and I found this Still in Shrink Riz Ortolani, the yellow Rolls Royce. I don't know much about the picture, haven't seen it, but Riz Ortolani is a remarkable Italian composer. He's behind the scores for 2072 New Gladiators. He did Mondo Cane, and I think that one was an Oscar winner. Cannibal Holocaust, and Zader, also known as Revenge of the Dead. So he ranges from electronica to really, really sweet, drippingly beautiful melodic ballad type material. And I think that this is a romance comedy of some sort, probably, or a romance drama, so it's probably going to have leanings in those ways. Most of the cast that appears on this, with like Shirley MacLaine and Alain Delon, Rex Harrison, George C. Scott, Ingrid Bergman. So it's mostly it's an international cast, but it feels almost like an American vibe on the casting. Not uncommon in the late 60s, early 70s, which I believe this is from. Beautiful pressing, is like new, black MGM label. So it's really, really nice. So I look forward to actually giving that a spin and listening to it. One of my favorite albums, I'm happy to replace, Son of Schmilson, Gatefold. I think it's a first press. It has the original inner sleeve with the text on it. And, get back in there, the poster. So that is another nice thing. And so all the lyrics are there. The record is like new. I guess it's not a poster. Yep, there it is. Folds out this way. And yep, there we go. Now, would I prefer to have found a Son of Dracula with the Bite It iron-on inside on the Rapple label with the tri-fold batwing sleeve? Yeah, I used to have one of those and I loved it. So actually I wouldn't mind having both, even though they share some of the same tracks. Montevishnu Orchestra, Birds of Fire. I haven't heard this, but if it's anything like Visions of Emerald Beyond, I'm going to love this record. Amazing, majorly instrumental prog band. Not all instrumental, but at least on that album there were only a couple of tracks that were vocal. Proud Words on a Dusty Shelf, Ken Hensley. So here we have a tie-in to Uriah Heep. And I'd never seen one of these before, even though I used to buy, sell, trade albums at the flea market. White label, so I suspect it's a promo. It doesn't say that on it. White Mercury label. Beautiful condition. Surprised at this one. This is a purple label Disneyland. National Anthems and Their Stories. And it is one with the 11-page book inside It's in absolutely breathtaking condition. For $1, this was probably the best buy of the lot. This one I got because I'm very much a fan of the album itself. One of those Bob Booker and George Foster First Family albums. But this one's the new First Family 1968. And as far as comedy albums go, this is a great comedy sketch album. It takes a different approach than some of the other ones did. John Biner is in the cast on this. The idea that they had for it is basically, if you look, a lot of the faces that you see and the characters on the cover are political, and a lot of them are Hollywood celebrities of the time, because the premise was basically, before Reagan happened, and actually we had a movie star in office, that a movie star would take over office. And so the whole thing is basically shticks of impressions of famous people. And it's quite amusing, especially with Boris Karloff as the head of the Secret Service. Lee Michaels fifth. I love Lee Michaels. I haven't heard an album I didn't like, so I'm looking forward to this one a lot. I haven't heard this one yet. And a Mom's Mabley album. So these were my finds in the dollar bin. And even though some of them have inner sleeves that are starting to go yellow, the records themselves are all minty. This is a Red Label Mercury, still has a Kmart special sale $1.86 sticker on it. We got a little stack of 45s. Had to sleeve them up in bags for now because I don't have any paper sleeves. Condition on these ranged anywhere from really bad to the point that I threw a bunch of stuff away to very good plus, strong, very good plus on a few things. It's just vintagey stuff. There's some psych, and there's some pop, and there's some rock in there. Most of it is late 60s, early 70s. A couple of Rolling Stones titles in there, so that wasn't a bad deal. Even got a couple of Motown discs in there, so it's fun stuff to play with. Probably not anything substantially valuable in there. I found a first pressing Crickets, which is Buddy Holly for anybody that doesn't know. That's kind of neat, but it's in really, really not good shape. So I just kind of kept it since it's not taking any more space in the box, and it's kind of a neat find. I've also acquired a picture disc of one of my favorite prog rock albums of all time, Il Balletto di Bronzo, Is or YS, I'm not sure. It is harpsichord and piano and Hammond organ and fuzz guitar and really, really heavy bass with clean, punchy vocals, very technical, very chaotic, lots of layers, very dark sounding. This album is exhausting to listen to. It sounds like it was exhausting to play. There's a lot of jazz in it and a lot of crazy rage sounding. This is like synth prog for headbangers is what this is. It's really, really good. If you haven't heard this album and you're into any of the following genres, synthwave, goth, horror film soundtracks along the lines of Goblin, prog like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or heavy dark metal. Pick this record up. There are a bunch of different variants. There's half a dozen different colored vinyl variants. An original pressing would run you a lot. This was actually relatively cheap, but it's one of only 500, and I'm really happy to have it just because while I did have a CD, this is one of my favorite records of all time. I'd put it up there with Tarkus and with the Cat in the Brain soundtrack and with Yes's Relayer, with Queen's Night at the Opera. It's that good to me. I think it's just extraordinary. I went to go see my 78s guy again, and I got 2 more Vogues. Again, these things are typically not in perfect condition, but they've survived a very long time because they have an aluminum core. Absolutely beautiful records. These are in playable condition, actually, this pair. So is the other pair. It seems like they don't die very easily either. Even though they can get scratched up, it typically doesn't take them to the point where they skip, that I've found. And this one, I think that there's a number of them that were like this, that they're kind of monochromatic, and they'll be either bluish like this or sepia. And they haven't faded. I think this is just the way that they were actually printed at the time for the few that are like that. Absolutely beautiful records, so I'm very happy to have found those. And that is it for Weird Spins. Again, on these, a recap from other videos that I've done on them for anybody that's not familiar with these. These were only printed in 1946 and 1947, and then the company went belly up. The reason that they survive today is while Victor did some picture discs at the time, those are much more rare. They did not survive much of the time because they actually had a shellac core of some kind and illustration over that, and then some kind of clear coat, and apparently many of them have disintegrated or chipped apart. These are like some kind of a hard enamel over an aluminum core. The illustration is actually on a sheet of aluminum, so they've been pretty resilient, and you can find these pretty inexpensively, and they're just beautiful things to look at. All right, so thank you again for joining me on Weird Spins, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.